All the leaders that you have, so when you do text labels, leaders, nafs X and Y, these should all have the same angle. Again, with Revit, it's not there, so you can draw a 45-degree angle or a 30-degree angle and follow the same angle when you draw it. Some of you had مثلا 45 هني, when it was مثلا 30-degree angle chili. So these are not matching. So be consistent, whether it's 30 or 45. Draw again, annotate, detail line. You can draw مثلا هني 45, and then when you do the leader, you just follow it at a 45 degrees. You need to add masking regions anytime you see overlapping graphics. Okay? تكلمنا شوية عن هذا آخر مرة with regards to the circle and the box اللي ضفناه. So this box in here, if there is no masking region, the line will show like it's going through the box. You need to add a masking region, and when you do, you need to watch out for what's front and what's back. You have to do center back, center front to make sure that you're not, so by default, the masking region will probably be نشوف الحين أنا الحين حاط masking region. It's as if it's not there. So what you can do is مثلا take this line and then send to back, arrange, send to back. الحين دزيت الخط اللي صار ورا region. And you can control what's front, what's behind. If you don't do that, it's as if it's not there. Same thing is repeated in here with the circle. The circle has a masking region as well, and الخط هذا مكمل تحتها. You notice in the file, it's not supposed to go through. You're just supposed to see the circle, and then you have those lines coming out of it. So make sure to use masking regions. You'll notice there's a handhold مع telephone line. And تكلمنا about moving it here. This one is missing in the drawing here. You need to add one up here as well. Okay? Sometimes with dashed lines, let's say this has to be here, okay? But your dashed line might be coming in a weird place. Might be coming in a weird place in your handhold. So sometimes what you can do is you cut the line to come to a point, عشان you can see the dash clearly before and after the box. Okay, so you break the line, you split it, and you have a line. Remember, you go to in modify, P split, SL. You split the line, you get an exacto when you do split line. Modify. أو تسحبون أو ترسمون خطان, either way. You cut it and then you add the box and you draw on the other side. Okay, line weights. Your line weights in the legend were not necessarily showing what you're supposed to be showing clearly. فمثلا on the all the way down كان في مكتوب Gali, which actually I want you to fix the spelling. Where it says Gali all the way down, you should change it to Gully, G-U-L-L-Y. There's a mistake in the spelling. You drew it in the side plan. We didn't use legends yet. So all the way down, the last four things in the legend should say Gully, G-U-L-L-Y. Okay, this is how the spelling is Badal Gali. It's not Gali. Okay, so change it from Gali to Gully. Does anybody know what that is? Should know what Gali and Gully. It's what you have here. It's a storm drain. Okay? So when you scale it down, this is what you're supposed to be using there. When you scale it down, it might be too dark. So you either change the line weight, exaggerate it, or you can remove some of these lines. So when you zoom out and you see it, it's not very dark. It can like a solid black rectangle. And if you'll notice, there's actually two types. There's this one, right, a double. And there is one that proportions is different. One is more rectangular, one is more square. B, A, and B, 1 and 2. So one is a rectangle, one is more square. That's the difference between A, B, and 1 and 2. Okay, that's in the legend. So check your line weights for the legend so that it's clear and you know what you see in the legend is what you can reference the basma. Title block. I still see mistakes in the title blocks. Either things are missing or they're incorrect or it's lowercase. For the title block, go to your sheet. A lot of you, the name in here, it says student name still, ما تغيرت. So you can double click or edit family, you can do that now. Here where it says under Kuwait University, double click, it's just a simple text box. Write your name, uppercase. Sometimes you left it as student name, you might have put lowercase letters. Okay, the title block, project name, من وين راح نغيرها هذا؟ Is it in the family mount title block or in the file? In the file. From where in the file? Okay, we'll get back to that. Shouldn't write the name we have to change. Owner, project address, this is also changed in the file, not here. Okay, these things, the Quran, if you go on it says tag label, and it takes information from parameter in the Revit file. So don't change that here, just make sure you have that fixed. So load project and close. If you have two files open, make sure to select the one that you're working on.
Which one was left to
The new one, Qadim, we're just taking the site plan information we sent way to. You don't have to change it with Qadim. So once you're back in your file, go to, where do we find the project information? Ism al-Mashru', address, the author. Did I wake up your laptop? Anyone remember?
What's the question?
Where do you change the name of the project, the address, the drawn by, approved by? لا راح الشيء الثاني انتوا غيرون title block.
You go to manage and project info.
Exactly, manage. And then under this magnet, the project information. Here you have approved by, you change it to that, drawn by. So approved by, that's my name, drawn by, your name. بعدين me, where it says client name, leave it as is. Kuwait University. Project address, Wafa, not Adeliya. So you can't, if you type, it's not going to change it here. So you have to click on the three dots. Another box. Is everyone here in project information? Go to manage. Manage. Project information. Go down to address. it's Wafra. 3 dots, click on it, erase Adeliya and write Wafra. Again, it's all uppercase. Some of you had lowercase in it. Project name, it's no longer intro project. Intro project was last, the week before last. This is the project. So WD project, like the file name, working drawings project. WD space project. Change this, hit OK, and double check your title block if it updated or not. خلوا عندكم الشيت مبطل. So I'll get to that in a second. So everyone change the address, change their name. To change the sheet title, you click on the title block here while you have the sheet open. It says sheet name, and then you change it here. Okay, let me explain something. Site plan is A101, not 102 or whatever else. زين. Okay, so yes, if you click on it, click, not double click. في فرق. If you click once, it's going to update the information بالproject parameters. فالحين مثلا هني كتب بنيامين, if you open project information, it will update. If you double click على the whole title block وتفتحونه بالفاميلي وتغيرونه راح يغير كل الشيتس. شفت الفرق؟ When it's a tag, المعلومات مسيبة بالفايل مال ريفت اللي فيه البيت. The other one is an independent title block which you might use for many different projects. فما راح نحط وفرة بالindependent title block. بنحط وفرة بس بهالفايل. Do you get the difference? انتوا قاعد تغيرون أشياء ثابتة هناك that might be with other projects or it's applied to this entire project. فممكن title block for this project. Because what you said is right. You click once on a tag. نفس وفرة هني. You click once, it'll open this box. بالبروجكت مالك كل الشيتس بس لما تبطلين هالتايتل بلوك مجرور ثاني it's going to be independent ما له شغل. It's not going to update everything and some things are only for this specific sheet. يعني site plan is the sheet name. ما راح يكتب site plan حق your ground floor, first floor, section. هذا راح يكتب update here on the left when you click on this one. Sheet name. That's this specific sheet, A101 site plan. لما نبطل ground floor راح يصير something else, ground floor plan. Okay?
Did you take, is this the old plan? Did you export to the new one? Didn't you say we were supposed to open the old site?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. But I want to finish comments my last submission to fix it before we jump to the new stuff.
So this is the new, because we don't have trees and
Yeah, I have my new file open. But I'm explaining the
all this
stuff from last week that you need to fix here. Okay? North arrow, waiting help. Inside the column of your title block, top right. Okay? So it's in the top right here, above the plan with Hapuna. Not in the actual frame. Shahla Thania, you have two things in the column that need to be labeled. Legend, and you have the location map. Location plan. لازم تكتبون location plan, لازم تكتبون legend. And the distance should be close, some of you have it far up يعني كاتبين legend وبعدين حاطين مسافة وبعدين حاطين listة. Keep it close. لا تحطون أشياء بعيدة. And keep it the same distance of the location map and the legend. المسافة المارجن يعني اللي بين the title and what's below it. So I talked about this. That's the hand hold, the telephone that's on the top. This was missing, so make sure to add it. A lot of you, the legend text is coming outside the border. So you either send it to the next line below, or you have to change the size of the text. But generally, it's usually you can go to the next line مثلا. واحد منكم حاطين التكست مالكم طلع برا. لما تكتبون legend text هني, it's popping out past the border, or it's really close. So you always have to have a decent margin, a proper margin. لا تلزقون أشياء very close. Even if it's not touching or it's not overlapping, that's still not a good thing. Keep some breathing space around your text, annotations, and the drawings. Okay, so some of you have added a dimension. If I open the side plan. يمكن حاطين dimension هني 8 meters or 8.08 or 8 something.
Yes.
So what exactly are we seeing on the side? What is 667? What is 666? What is 664? Plot number. So is my neighboring plot عرضها 8 متر? No, ما في خسائر بالكويت 8 متر. Okay? Well, I did a border in here, which is cutting off the context. Baji across the street, my other neighbor, top, right, they're not showing. I can't put a dimension just because it's within my border. I would, this is the dimension. So you have two things to do. Either you remove the dimension, which is fine, or you insert it manually. تكتبون 22 meters هي عرض القسيمة. So two things. بس ما تخلونها, don't put something that doesn't make sense. Okay?
شلون نسوي alignment without automatic يعني number generator؟ لأن إذا غيرنا الرقم راح يكون
You're talking about the dimension?
إيه.
لا أنا قصدي you draw it manually. Or better yet, just don't put it. I'm just trying to explain. And generally, you might see some things that don't make sense. أو أنا حاط شغلة بطريقة بس when you add مثلا the furniture or you change something, you cannot keep it in the same place. So think critically. Why it's there? You move things around when you need to. Okay? So I talked about this, dimensions, dimension lines unify the distances. So when you see here, the distance of مثلا this is the same as the distance. These two are equally spaced away from the plot line. Again, in Revit, there isn't a simple way to do that. So what do you have to do? You actually draw it. You can do a detail line, annotation, detail line. You can do مثلا offset. So you select. How should I see more or less مثلا where you think is at least one dimension is right? You measure it. This up here gives you a quick measurement dimension. Oh, you see that little ruler? So you check the dimension here مثلا. This is around متر ونص. أنا شايف إنه مناسب. Okay. So I make my guidelines. Like I said, we annotate detail line. I can do pick lines. Offset متر ونص. And now I drew the line over here. And I already did it, so you're not seeing it. So let's say my dimension lines were like this. واحد فوق واحد تحت.
لما يكون
I'll get to it in a second, but I want to select this. So let's say your dimension lines كانوا واحد فوق وواحد تحت، في واحد بعيد وواحد قريب. So you draw these detailed lines as guidelines. شلون نرسمهم؟ already أنا عندي property lines صح؟ مرسوم يعني. عندي property line مرسوم. I just go to annotate detail line. You can change it to hidden or whatever. Just make sure to delete it عقب. You do pick lines. It's like a small cursor instead of drawing the lines. You can draw, but yeah, this is a fast way. When you pick the lines, you can do offset. So offset مثلا متر ونص after you figure out that that's a reasonable distance. When you put the cursor, راح يقول لكم تبون offset to the top or to the bottom. أنا dimension فوق, so I draw this. I do it here. So I do it all around. And then when I do my dimensions, I just follow these lines. Either I do them عقب أو أرسم on the dimensions and then I align them. You can use the align command.
Align doesn't work on the dimensions.
Maybe not. There's some weird stuff in Revit. So you can do it manually as close as possible as you can. So if you have a dimension in here, مثلا, that's somewhere down here, you can select, move it. Again, مو لازم يعني بالملي, but roughly it's going to look neat in that they're following the same distance. Yes, so offset, annotate detail line. You can change the style to hidden عشان تعرفين ان it's a construction line. بعدين instead of by default it draws a line صح؟ نفس البوكس هذا في pick lines, the last option bottom right. Once you select it, before you start picking the lines, offset هني فوق. Change it to مثلا متر ونص 1500. And then hit enter. Then you take the mouse to the lines you want to offset, and it will tell you the dashed line is going to go above or below. And then you click on the line then. Then you draw the next one. You click on the one on the side, the one. Don't modify these things before you have all your information there. And then once you add a car, once you add a tree, once you add things, you might need to redo it. But don't waste time aligning everything again. Put everything, but then you do the dimensions. Okay, I'm just showing you how to do it. Yes, make sure to delete your lines. Okay, make sure to delete the lines or hide them. If you want to come back to them later, you can hide them. Hide, you select a line or any element you want. You can right click and say hide in view element. So it hides just this line. If you want to keep it there for future reference.
How can we show it again بعد هاي؟
تحت هني. This tells you what's hidden. This shows you here what's hidden, and then you can click on it and unhide it. Okay, there's a light bulb tahat next to the glasses. That shows you what's hidden. Okay, I think we're done with the comments, so there's maybe one left. Okay, تكلمت على هذا. Proper margins everywhere, whether you're putting the drawing or within the drawing, لا تنسون أشياء, annotations and so on. So today I'm going to walk through these 6 things. We're going to include, we're going to copy the site from our last week's submission to our new file. Then we're going to add flooring. So we're going to change the floor slab, عشان يبين the flooring. We're going to add parking, or just place cars where parking should be. We're going to add some vegetation, trees and patches. And we're going to add spot elevations على الروفتوب, على البالكوني, وعلى الأرضي. And lastly, we're going to change the dimensions. الحين, last week what we did was the project units غيرناهم to meters. صح؟ الحين, our project, to be easier, عشان not to go into that. الحين, our project units are what? They're not meters, صح? They're millimeters. It's my site. It's going to follow my project units. فراح يبين 25,000 millimeters عرض القسيمة. So we're going to customize the dimension style to show as meters. I'll show you how to do that now. أول شيء, have both files open. أول شيء, any questions on what I just talked about up to now? Everything's clear? Okay, الحين أبيكم تطلعون الفايل اللي فيه all the work that you did and make sure it's, so last week's submission is open in Revit وتبطلون بنفس window, file open, your new file. So have both open at the same time. So make sure you only have those two files open. لا تبطلون أكثر من كذي because you're going to get confused. So have last week's submission that you submitted for the site plan and this week's submission. And open the site plan view, not the sheet, the site plan view under floor plans. بطلوا site plan بالفايل الجديد اللي فيه الموديل. بطلوا site plan بالفايل القديم اللي فيه السايت اللي سلمته. This site plan, I'm going to add it tomorrow as a PDF for you to reference. So you're going to have this and the ground first, second, what's expected for Monday, you can use as a reference. Okay, so if you open Views, Site Plan, so assuming this is the finished one, it's not. What you do is, الحين مبطلين site بالجديد والقديم. Okay, so I have site plan, this is my new one that has the building. And this is the site plan view that has all the information we selected last week. You select everything.
مع الليجند.
Yes, with your legend. Hey, before you paste it, open the other file. And you'll notice it has the border model property. So the file اللي فيه building بطلوا السايت فيه راح تلاقون only the property lines صح؟ And the frame. عدل؟ Erase them. If you don't erase them, you're going to take them from the old file to the new one, and then you're going to have 2 lines of each. Okay? So erase them in the new file. You already did that? So find them and erase the, so they're not double lines. So what you do is you select everything. You do Control C to copy. again, for this to work, it needs to be the same window with different tabs. وبعدين بطلوا السايت بلان بالbuilding اللي فيه الموديل الفايل اللي فيه الموديل. Go to manage, modify, where it says clipboard, feed paste, up here, via an arrow. Click on this arrow and select the last option, aligned to current view. Okay? So Control C, you select everything in the old file, Control C. بعدين تطلعون السايت بلان بالجديد. Make sure that you deleted your property lines and deleted the big rectangle around, so you're not doubling any information. Go to modify. Modify. On the left side, feed paste. You do the drop down arrow, تحت كلمة paste, and you click aligned to current view. في أحد ما ضبط this step?
It's not sended.
That's fine.
عادي I push it.
So الحين it's more complex, more complicated to move the model than to move your annotation lines. So once you paste it, if there are no major issues, you can move what you pasted to roughly where you want the building to be. So somewhere in the middle is okay. Could also be set back closer to one side than the other. You know where your entry at ground floor is going to be, so you want it close, far من السور. We'll talk about adding the fence. Okay, so don't move the building. Then the issue with moving the building is you might miss. I mean, when you select something, especially if you do it with floor plan, you're going to miss what's above and below. You can do it in 3D, but it's complicated and could mess up the model that you have. So what we're removing is just simple annotation lines, which is what we drew around. Okay, so you can move those around again. Now, make sure that in your new file, the scale is 1 to 200. It might be 1 to 100 in some of your files. Make sure it's 1 to 200. في أي أحد مبين عنده الجريدز مال structure؟ في أحد مبين عنده كذي big grids coming around the building؟ No? If it's showing, it's under VG, Visibility Graphics, and you can remove it from there, under Annotation Categories. And you uncheck grids. If you don't have it, just leave it off, that's fine. Okay, so you can do a quick check of your dimensions before you start detailing, and then see how far your building is from the edge. You can do this quick dimension test if you need. See how far it is from the top, from the side. You might want to move the entire site plan around your building. بعدين, let's modify the dimension style again. So right now your dimensions are probably going to show like that. صح؟ 25,000. صح? Everyone's showing his millimeters. So what we're going to do is you're going to select it. Okay. On the left side where it says properties, you go to edit type. And then you're going to duplicate. So again, keep good practice of using, customizing things in Revit. We don't change the original settings. You always duplicate. You rename it. لا تخلون مثلا duplicate 2, duplicate 3, duplicate 4. لا حطوا اسم حق كل واحد. So right now مثلا we're going to duplicate this 2.5 mm aerial. وهني بدال 2 I'm going to write مثلا بين قوسين meters. Because I'm going to change the units to show only in meters. Once you do that, hit OK. Then go down on the properties to find primary units and change your units format. Click in here where it says 1, 2, 3, 5. By default, it's use project settings. فاحنا بالproject information I can change the entire project to meters. بس that will change my entire sheets. الحين we only have one drawing that's in meters. So I'm going to customize the dimension style only for that one. Everything else can follow project settings, which is millimeters. So uncheck this one. Label units to meters. And we need to change the rounding. So with millimeters, we don't need rounding. ما راح نحط مثلا نص ملي بالرسمة صح؟ It's too small. الملي already why it's late. But when I talk about meters, I need to have decimals. نص متر أبي أعرف to the closest centimeter. So we need 2 decimal places. راح say 0.01. That's the example. Okay, 0.01, 2 decimal places. Hit OK, and then OK. And it should change this one to be 25.00. Okay? Now, the other ones might still be millimeters. So to fix that, go to one of them, right click. And here there's an option that says select all instances. And you have 3 options. What we're going to select now is visible in view, whatever we see in this site plan view. I don't want to select the ones in the ground floor. Entire project, يعني اختار كل شيء, حتى the 3D view, ground floor, whatever. Kill the dimensions. So again, visible in view, and you'll see it's going to select all the dimensions in the site plan, change it to meters, and should update all the ones that you have on the sheet.
So it's like first when
Again, the rest of the project is still millimeters. This is the only one that's meters. ليش؟ لأن it's zoomed out 1 to 200. فما أبي أحط millimeters على 25 متر صار 25,000. We're talking about a bigger scale. When we're zooming into the building scale, it's millimeters. Any issues up to here? Clear? شنو حطيتها؟ You right click on the dimension, one of them. صح؟ بعدين select all instances. Visible in view. شنو يطلع؟ عندكم dimensions أصلا بالview؟ You're sure they're dimensions or you did them manually?
لا dimension.
لا تحددي هذا، حددي هذا.
Change it to meters, and any new dimension, when you do it now, it's going to be meters. It's going to follow the new setting. It's clear up to here? Okay, so let's add the flooring of the building, the site, and the entryway. On our building, go find the top floor and select your floor, the floor slab. Okay? Once you select it, change it from generic 300 to roof floor ceramic finish.
Which slab?
The top floor slab and the balcony, so you're going to do it twice. So one for the top floor slab right now by double count generic 300, صح? Can you eventually go to the edge if you can't find it. You can keep Huh? You could go to 3D view and change it there anyway. You can go to the roof. The مو قادرين تصيدونه, it's fine. You can get it from another view. Select it. Drop down in 300, label to roof floor ceramic finish, and check that the hatching changed. Do the same thing for the balcony. Roof floor ceramic finish. Now by name we're going to customize it. I'll show you how. This name, it's fine to keep it as that. So you can change it in another view like 3D and then go back.
الدكتور لما سويت كوبي أنا من السايت هذاك اللي هني أصغر معنا 1 to 200.
شو اللي صار أصغر؟ شو اللي صار أصغر؟
إن السايت مال previous solution to هذا أصغر هذا سويت له كوبي حطيته هني
شو اللي أصغر؟
السايت هذا اللي هو
أنا عارف.
يوم سويت له كوبي حطيته هني
على أساس أنت شايفته أصغر.
لأن الخطوط مو عالية مو عالية الخطوط مو عالية بدي
ما قال شنو البيلدينج اللي يخطو. قسيمة 600 متر. والمبنى ايش كبره؟ 8 ب 10. عشان ملحق مال ساير. So it's very tiny compared to the plot. That's why you'll see a lot of space around it. Okay?
هاي ليش هي بالضبط
يعني هي غلط. شو الفرق بين بينك وبينهم؟ هذا offset. انت مسوي يمكن offset.
اوكي حتى يدخل
هم؟
بس انتي شو بالضبط؟ ايه بالضبط
الحين نفس السكيل. انت هذول الاديشنال لاينز يمكن when you were testing the offset options سويتي offset فوق وتحت so erase the additional lines. Okay. Depending on your project.
I have a question. When you're looking at the top, there's like 2 lines in the walls that are showing. I thought I had
What do you see?
so the walls yeah.
Okay, so when you see the walls there, select the walls. Once you select the wall, let's say it's the one below me, where it says top offset, top constraint, بعدين في top offset, نزلوه 100. Let me try to find it just a second.
minus 100?
8. So we're talking about which side of the wall? Top offset of these walls that are on the roof, up to minus 100.
What?
Again, we're taking it down. Later we're going to say exactly how far it should go. The walls that are showing up on the roof. Another thing is you'll probably see the columns coming up on the roof, صح? You can right click and say hide all, hide category. Go back to this side.
Which one is it showing outside?
Hey, في a couple of things. شايفين هني في طوفة مبينة صح؟ Click on it. Where it says top offset, do minus 100 هني. اختفت؟ Do the same with the other one. And then find your columns. If you see your foundations, you can go select the foundations, right click. You can say hide in view category. راح يختفي كل ال footings.
And the columns?
Same thing with the columns, right click on the columns, hide category, select one of them, hide category. If it doesn't go away from the other one. So click it, hide in view, category, not element. Now element, it will remove that one footing. If it's a one category, راح يشيل كل the other footings around.
Remove the footings and the beams?
Columns, not beams. And then, depending on your project, you're going to figure out where the where the pathway is going to be to get you into the house. So your entry might be فوق. So تسوون مدخل من هني من فوق. Even though it says proposed entrance here, don't worry about that. تحطون مدخل من هني عشان يدخلكم مثلا على الصالة. If it's on the right side, تسوونه من هني مثلا to get to you from the back. So depending on where you put your main door entry, head, the ground floor, that's where this pathway is supposed to lead. Don't just copy what I have here. Again, think critically. وين المدخل مال الأرضي؟ حطوا pathway from السور to get to the building. Okay? This is drawn as an annotation. I did not model the floor. Okay? This is a hatch. So you do a annotate region, filled region, and I selected sand as my hatch to show as grass. So if you want to draw it, by then it's showing, okay, there's two things you want to do. So let me just show it to me. So there's a couple of things. Let's say annotate region, filled region. If by default, let's say you have solid black, again, you do edit type, duplicate, change it to sand, then that's probably not there already. Where it says foreground fill pattern, change it to sand. Like when we need, click on it, you'll see sand. That's how you create a new filled region, okay? There's sand. Once you have that, you can either select, I'm drawing now my shape. You can do select, but without offset. By default, your filled region is probably going to have a mask on it. So if you have a mask on it, it's going to remove what's below. So there's a couple of things you can do. Edit type, uncheck the mask, But that's not enough. Then you're going to have it under your building as well and under the driveway, the walkway. So to remove what's inside, you do edit boundary. بعدين ترسمون around inside like a donut. So draw another rectangle مثلا هنا. And this way it removes the part that's inside. You're probably going to need to put some borders or do push front and back to enhance an invisible line that's covering over the drum. Same thing, you would do another cutout technique. عشان يبين the walkway is not showing as the hatch. So you're just modifying the outline of the hatch. The trees, you go to massing and site component, and then you select from here different trees and you place them around the site. Same thing with cars, you can load it from the site. If you don't find the car, load it from the Autodesk family. Find the car and load it. One last thing. شوفون هني actually two things. سور. شلون نرسم سور؟ السور الحين ماشي على property line. شلون ارسمه؟ wall, exactly. شنو settings مالت الwall؟ أول شيء البيس مالها is what level? Which is what? Ground is not 0. Ground floor is plus. If you look at your section, it's plus. So it's sidewalk level. So you draw a wall on the sidewalk level. Unconnected, ارتفاعها مترين أو متر 80 سور عادي ترسمونه, and then you can add a door to it, a double door. Okay? One last thing before we leave. You need to add a spot elevation. When you add a spot elevation, by default, it's going to look like, it's going to be in millimeters. So if you do spot elevation, I'll show you, make sure it's no leader, no shoulder. تصير 8100 صح؟ You do the same thing that we did with dimension style. You select it. هني spot elevations, edit type, duplicate, write meters instead of 2. Same steps we did with dimension style. And then when you go down here, change primary units, uncheck project settings, change it to meters. Okay, so the same steps we did with dimension style, we're changing it. You need for the spot elevation. Now you're going to have a spot elevation that says meters, and that should make it appear as 8.10. Same thing, 2 decimal points. تلاحظون when you add a spot elevation, حتى بعدين لما تحطونها في roof and other places, it does not mask what's behind it. So you're going to have to manually put a masking region عشان to knock out the paving bit behind it. Okay? The balcony is too small to put a spot elevation on it. So you have to, when you put a spot elevation, turn on leader and shoulder. Okay, balcony. وتحطونه هنا. You click once, it's going to be like a leader. Only one طبعا is enough. Make sure it's in meters. And we need to add one also to the ground floor. For this here to show, you need to have a ground. Does anybody know how to add a ground? No, it's similar concept under massing and site. Here where it says topo solid, you say create from sketch. By default, it might say generic 1000, right? Be 3000? Okay, 3000 should be enough. And you just draw, and make sure the level is not ground floor, either ground floor minus or sidewalk level. So on the sidewalk level. 0. Okay? What that's gonna do, when you go to 3D and cut it, you'll see a big base at the bottom. Okay?
ليش انت حطيتها minus 200؟
هذا كان على الشارع بس don't worry about it. Yeah, site, massing and site, topo solid, drop down to create from sketch. Do it on the site plan. So topo solid, create from sketch, generic 3000. بعدين نفس ما قاعد نسوي up any floor or slab, you do a rectangle and do it around your whole site. Best, and then you hit the check and it should create it there. Left. Sidewalk 0.
I'm getting an error.
Hmm?
You're getting an error.
Yeah, ignore it. It has to do with overlapping your floor slab with ground floor. So it should be fine for now.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
We have on the site there's something there's refrigerator.
Erase the refrigerator. Don't worry about it. And put another model in there. Erase it. Go to ground floor and remove that fridge. There's another fridge that doesn't have that tag. That's the easiest way to deal with it. Any questions? Green is clear?
Do we have to?
عندكم 5 أيام to get this done on the ground floor with the first 5 days. Okay? So please submit what you have up to now, the work you did last class and what you did today. Submit as sheets if you have them as sheets, otherwise as views. You can even do a screenshot and just submit as images or PDF as a progress update. Okay? The site, ground and first. Site has the roof, فما في داعي تسوون الموضوع. You don't have to put them in sheets. Whatever you have now. خلاص فاهم قديم, forget about it. Yeah.
لازم box.
I have some problems with my site submission. So do I fix it before submitting? Like the application is not so do I
See, so the reason I gave you that list is fix all your mistakes in site, especially the ones I mentioned to me. Fix them for Monday. Hmm?
So we're not submitting at 6?
You're not submitting shit?
At 6?
At 6 is progress.
Okay, so يعني ما عادي لو عدت annotations we're not for the
See? I just want to see what you have up to now.
سكر على الطاقة.
Awesome.
هذه نفس الشيء.
There's a couple things. You can either do a thin line, or something invisible, and you offset it from the edge. Just a second. So when you draw the sand region, you might get the invisible lines overlapping the foot. So there's 2 ways. يا تسوون thin lines, masking region sand, which is the right way. يا تسوون thin lines عشان اللاين يبين, أو تسوون خلونه invisible بس you offset from the edges. So that's like a thin, clear border, so it's not overlapping the data. Otherwise, your masking region is going to cover the information.
I have a question.